us about Amba, the special Amba of Bhagavad Gita, Bhavatreshini, and Devakarya Samudyata. She also told us about Vyashti and Samashti, how they are one and the same, how we are having Amritattva in us, and how to recognize it and to bring it out. And about the uh, Amrita Parivara of Ma Parvati, Matacha Parvati Devi, and about Sarva Bhutantaratma. So these are few things and many more. Didi introduced us. Now, from chapter 1, she is taking us in the journey. So, Didi, please, over to you.
Brahmacharya Vrindi Sarva Vedanta Pandita Srimad Viveka Yogi Mam Prachodayatu Sarvada Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pankam Lankhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. My namaskars to all of you. Eka has nicely summed up the main points from my last lecture. From today onwards, we are going to enter into the Bhagavad Gita proper. So I told you to approach Bhagavad Gita from this open mind. We must have some ideas about what is Amritattva and what is Parivar. These are the two words which we should find levels of meaning, levels of understanding, and levels of practical application in our life. To quote Swami Vivekananda, each soul is potentially divine. Our seers said, Amritasya Putra. Vivekananda Kendra Prarthana says, Amritasya Putra. So, that Amritatvam, immortality. So, we have to take ourselves from the ephemeral to the eternal. That is our journey. Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. So far we were thinking, we are more or less on the pathway. Amritattva is there in all of us. And our family, we get married, have children, have our samsaric interest, bondages. Apart from that, can we conceive of a greater family? So that is the aim or goal we have to reach in this series of lectures. We never thought Bhagavad Gita will provide us some ideas how to develop this Amrita Parivar. What is it that prevents us from conceiving of this Amrit Parivar? What prevents us in our so-called families that they don't manifest this Amritattva at our family level? So, to keep our mind open to the understanding, I introduce you to some of the parivars operating within us. We discussed about the various systems in our body. Even within their systems, finally we analyzed what is there in an atom. Then from there, we moved up to the nature. Everywhere we find family principles are operating. And in that family principle, the most important concept which Sri Krishna puts forth in the 3rd chapter is Parasparam Bhavayanta. Parasparyam. We have to develop a sort of relationship in which we will link ourselves up with the whole. We know yoga is such a technique which takes the Veshti to the Samashti level. But in the family, living in the household system of a family, can we develop that sort of a link-up? We can. That is the beauty of our Indian tradition. Anywhere you touch, there is that Amritatva. We have only to discover it, absorb it, make it part of our thinking, feeling, working, and so on. So that is the aim towards which we are moving. As we go through the different chapters of Bhagavad Gita, we shall pick up wherever Sri Krishna has mentioned about this expansion of the human mind to catch up with the whole. We shall pause there, pick up that, and analyze the meaning of it and put it in our bag. Finally, we will create a Gita Japamala. These shlokas which we are going to pick up here and there, Sutre Manigana Iva, we will put them all into a mala, a Japamala. And by the time we finish with our studies, these shlokas should start resonating within us. And when they start resonating within us, they will remind us of the universal family, Amritha Parivar, and will probably help us to correct our feelings, thoughts, words, deeds, etc. Now, we are entering into the 1st chapter. In the 1st chapter, the focus is on Arjuna. Of course, we have seen Dhritarashtra and his extra concern about his own people that we have seen already in the beginning. Here we shall analyze the position which Arjuna takes, the Arjuna Vishada Yoga. We can say Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So that is what forms today's analysis. So the focus is on Arjuna. He wanted to have a look at the entire army which have arrayed in front, so that he can have a good idea with whom he can fight. Who are the people who have come to fight with me? All that you can have. So he wanted to take a look at the entire Kaurava clan, especially, which is there in front. So he commands to his charioteer Sri Krishna, Krishna, you take my chariot and put it in front of the army so that Yavadeham, Yavadedan Niriksheham, Yodhukaman avastita. Dhritarashtrasya durbuddhehe. Yuddhe priyachikirshavaha. There's a touch of egoism. He was thinking, what is there? I have had so many battles, I have won, I have so much of shastras, everything, and it will be just very easy walk over. Krishna knew, of course, what is going to happen. So cleverly, Krishna took the chariot and positioned it just in between the two armies, just where the dear and near ones have assembled. Arjuna looked at the people. Till then, till that moment, he was thinking, oh, they are my enemies, I have to shoot, kill them, finish off. But then he started looking up. Whom did he see? His beloved Pitamaha, who has virtually, as we have seen in the last chapter, last lecture, when the children came from the forest, it was the Bhishma who gave them the best of love and affection and care. Arjuna used to sleep with him. That is what they say. So he was surprised. Oh, Bhishma Pitamaha. Then adorable Guru Kripacharya. Well, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Uncle Shalya, and all my cousins with I have shared a lot of brotherly affection with them. And so many friends and relatives from the Hastinapur. What is this? It is with them I have to fight. My own relations. So he started seeing them within the framework of the Desha Kala, time and space of his personal mine relationship. That was all he could conjure up at that time. And he got the shock of his life. Are these the people whom I am going to kill now? My goodness, what have I done? With this thought, as he started brooding over, remembering the relationships, the man-made samsaric bondages which he has created in his life, he found he cannot do it. Mind started wavering and he became deeply hurt. He started wondering, with this battle, so many of my dear and near ones will be sent to Yamaloka. So many men will die. And hundreds and thousands of widows will be in Hastinapur. These ladies who have nowhere to go, nowhere to protect them, nowhere to care them. And what will happen? It would naturally lead to the breakup of the social order. Not only that, if I am the reason to kill them, the papa will be on me. I will have to go to Narega. I never thought of all these things. When I said we will have a war and reclaim our lost kingdom, it never occurred to me that I will have to kill so many of my relations. And as this thought became more and more intense, his sorrow becoming deeper and deeper, it started affecting the body. As we see, this psychosomatic reaction started. Gandivam Samsate Hastat. He could not hold the Gandiva. Gandiva fell down and he sat down. A pathetic sufferer. Krishna was looking at him. What to do? Let him go through all this. Krishna had already known. That is why particularly he kept the chariot there. Because through this Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Krishna has to give a wonderful message to the humanity. So he allowed him to go through whatever he has to say about his relationships, about his family, misunderstanding of the family. All this Krishna allowed him to come out. They say in the Ayurveda treatment, when you go to a good physician, doctor, he will first give you some medicine by which you will start vomiting so many unwanted things which have accumulated in our system and cleaning up the system, then he starts giving the medicine. In the same way, Krishna was a silent observer. Let me see what all is coming out of his mind. After that, I will see what can be done. And we can very easily understand Arjuna's sorrow because we are in the Arjuna mode. We are also, my mind, that is our family, my wealth, my family, my house, my job, my name, my fame. Yeah? So we can very well understand what Arjuna was feeling, how troubled and upset he was. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga brings us to a level of Arjuna. We are all going through the same Arjuna mode of mentality. And here, remember, we are talking about the Parivar. And this Parivar, what is it? Is it an eternal or ephemeral? It is ephemeral. The linkages and bondages I have made. I love this man, I hate this man. I am ready to sacrifice my life for this person, but I would like to kill that person. All these relations, interrelations, and our mental oscillations, all are self-made. So we can easily understand, yes, when I have gone through this, it need not be an war. It can be an examination. It can be an interview. It can be meeting a particular person for gaining something. Occasions may be varying, but the situation is the same. Our mind is disturbed. A mind is just disturbed because what will happen to me? Will I succeed? Will my thoughts impress that person? Will my interview be successful? So all these confusing thoughts get into our mind. So we can easily understand what Arjuna has gone through. So in this very first chapter, we are given an opportunity of self-analysis. Whom do we understand as our family? What is the relationship I have with the members of my family? Do I accept all of them as my family? Am I ready to interact with them as though they are my very soul itself? Am I ready to sacrifice my self-interest for the family members? Am I going to serve them as my own? So this gives a wonderful opportunity for self-analysis. Why we are troubled? Now that is the next point. So we are troubled now. Troubled about our Arjuna, just like Arjuna. Arjuna is troubled because he has not rightly understood his real self. If he had understood his real self, there would not have been any problem. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham, there is no problem. But he has not understood it. He has studied Vedas, Upanishads, arts, everything. But this internal transformation, the expansion of the mind, the elevation of the mind, the understanding of the evolutionary steps a human being has to take to manifest to the divinity, all those experiences were unknown to him. He was a very good person, good archer, renowned Dhanurdhara. Whole of Bharatavarsha adored him. So he was quite egoistic. And he knew the whole Mahabharata war is centered on him, how Arjuna is going to behave. How many people Arjuna will be able to kill? Whether Arjuna will be able to face Drona, Bhishma, etc. So everybody's hope was centered on him. So that added to his ego. That is why he commanded Sri Krishna to take the chariot and put it in front of them so that let me see who have come to fight with me. There is an element of absolute ego presentation there. He thought he can ride over them. So let me see who has the courage and conviction to fight with me. One person he knew, of course, Karna, but let me also see who are the others. So in the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, we find the confused mentality of Arjuna, the confused mentality of us as regards our family relationships. Because it is from here that we have to elevate ourselves. We do not know that if real family means what. We know only the family which is in the framework of Desha Kala, time and space. At a particular generation, I have my parents like this, I have the activities like this, and after that I pass on. In Mahabharata, there is a story of Chitraketu. Chitraketu, after a long time, got a son, and the son was killed by the other Ranis, Sapatnis, and he was in such a mental depression. Narada comes and brings that Jiva back, and then the Jiva asks, Sarada says, look, he is your father. The child looks at him, looks at Narada and asks him, my father? Of which birth? I have had so many fathers. This father is belonging to which of my births? When the Chitraketu king heard this, suddenly he woke up. How transient is our life. How we pass on from one life to another life, gathering the experiences and move on. So in that way, we, in this particular life, let us remember, our families are Mrita families, dying families. Father and mother, they are not going to stay with us all the time. A time will come when they will have to go. Then I thought, my brothers and sisters, then I find some of them are attacked by some disease or other. Some of them were involved in some other transactions and they were killed. So at every time some separation occurs, our mind is in trouble. We start crying over them, feeling miserable, feeling orphaned. A wife whose husband passed away, she feels orphaned. So many mental aberrations we go through because of our attachment, because our putting our faith in one person or the other, in our family members. So Arjuna, when he finally summed up his thing, he found, I cannot go through this sorrow, Krishna. I cannot. Killing my grandfather, killing Drona. No. dhritarashtra rene hanyu tanme kshemataram bhavet. Let them kill me. I don't bother at all. Let them kill me and escape from this terrible mental torture. That is how we find the first chapter to coming to a conclusion. It is from here, miserable, pathetic mental state that Arjuna has to be lifted up to make Arjuna realize that it is not his war. He is not the killer. He is only an instrument in the hands of the all-powerful mighty. He had to, so for make him understand this, Krishna had to explain to him the totality of the existence, the interrelationship, the interdependencies, the interconnectedness of the entire universe, the cosmos, and make him understand that he is only just a tiny little dot somewhere. And to make him understand this, Krishna slowly elevates his mind to a level of nisangatva and shows to Arjuna the mastery of creation. Your family, where does it start from? We have seen in our last lecture. Where do we come from? Just one little tiny cell. And that cell carries so many informations, so much of valuable informations that as the cell goes on dividing and becoming a Brahmana and then a child and coming out as a human being, so much is gone through. We never think of it at all. Who gave us that life? Who has provided us the capacity to absorb mother's nutrients? Who has given us the capacity to use our brain and mind, grasp things? We never think about it at all. So Sri Krishna, step by step, elevates Arjuna's mind so that he can conceive of the whole. So he provides him the necessary inputs to know about the creation. And last but not the least, Krishna shows him the interconnectedness of the whole universe through his cosmic Vishwarupa. It is then that Arjuna becomes humble, even though he says, in the next chapter we'll see, keep me as your disciple. I know I am not worthy of being anything, your friend or anything. Karpanya dosho pahadas svabhava prichami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. Which is dharma, I don't know. And because of that, my mind is so very disturbed. Yes, please tell me, which is good for me? Where shall we start from? How do I move forward? Please teach me all of this. Sishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapanna. Please take me as your disciple. I know you are a great master, the master of the universe, the creator of this universe. I am nothing at all. I am a tiny little thing. So please accept me as your disciple and fill my mind with the right knowledge so that when I look at the world, I know it is all yours. So slowly, Arjuna has to elevate his mind to this sort of expansion. Here, as I said last time, Swamiji's words which we have to absorb. Remember, this expansion is life. Wherever there is contraction in our mind, look there, we can find some hatred, some lack of love, some lack of understanding, lack of sympathy, lack of concern. that shrinks our mind. But wherever we are able to love another, sacrifice for another, that is why I mentioned last time, Kapila Vasudeva gives the wonderful medicine to his mother Devahuti. Athavam sarvabhuteshu kridatmanam kridalayam arthayet danamanabhyam maitriya abhinna chakshusha. See, we have to shift from our level of I, my, seeing into the level where we see ourselves in the whole universe. So, Arjuna in the first chapter, that is where we are standing. We are wrongly understanding our family. So, Krishna's first advice is, in the next chapter, he will call it as the Klaibyam asmadam apartha. So we will wait for the second chapter. Let this chapter sink unto us the mistakes which we are making in the understanding of our family relationships. From our personal, selfish, self-motivated understanding, we have to develop into a grand, magnified understanding. And that is the reason of our health also. What we call psychosomatic diseases, etc., is due to this contraction. So when we release our mind from this self-imposed contractions and misunderstandings, our mind starts expanding. We are able to see ourselves in others. A person is suffering, let me go and help them. A person has no food, let me share my food with her. That person has a child who has no father. Let me be a father to that child. So hundreds and thousands of opportunities are there around us to create an Amrit Parivar, first in our mind, in our feelings, in our actions, in our thoughts, in our deeds. So the journey to Amrit Parivar starts from unselfish love, the capacity to love another as your own Atma, capacity to sacrifice your personal motivations and interests, and in the capacity to serve another. Can I help you? In what way I can help you? From morning till evening, let these thoughts go through us so that we are able to lift our mind from our dying interest in the family to the eternal understanding. Two mistakes which we make in making our Mrita Parivar into an Amrita Parivar, where the Vyasa has clearly enunciated in the first chapter. That is what we have to understand. The first thing was, Mamaga Pandavaschaiva, my children and Pandu's children. What happened between them? Dhritarashtra was always eager to hear the news because when Bhishma was alive, he had absolutely no other thought. He knew Pandavas will be taught a lesson. His children will pass the examination. They will win the war. But when he heard Bhishma had fallen down, then he lost hope. And the unnatural anxiety, even at that moment, I think the Mahabharata, Sanjaya reminds him, look, oh Maharaja, even at this time, you ask them to stop the war. They are not going to win the war at all. Divide the kingdom between the two. Let them live happily. He could never take that advice. So the first thing we have to remove from ourselves is the intense mamata. The mamata which is overpowering our natural capacity to love. Just like sun is covered with the cloud, our natural propensity to love, it is being covered by our selfish interest. So that is the first thing Vyasa teaches us. If we want to have an Amrita Parivar, then never have this mamata. Have love, but not mamata. Mamata has self-interest in the love. That is mamata. Secondly, the second important thing is through Arjuna. Ratham sthabayametsudha yavadetan nirikshe uddhukama. What an ego! An egoistic statement, isn't it? He forgets who is driving his chariot. Go, stop it there. Let me see who all have come. So two things which are preventing us from this expansion of our Parivar into an Amrita Parivar. One is misplaced mamata, and second is aham bhava, our egoistic behavior. So these are the two lessons which we have to pick up from the first chapter. When we are able to brood over it and see the whole world as our family, Sudheva Kudumbagam, we are able to meditate. Last time we thought of the forest, the trees, the planets, the stars, the sea, the Panchabhutas. All of them are so impersonal. They do their work so without any motivation whatsoever. So that way we are able to position our mind, look at the universe, and more become part of the universe, not the part of our single family contained in a 2-bedroom flat with a bank balance, with a pension, this. Remove all that and expand our mind to include all this. Look at the trees and enjoy. So we say, when you go to nature, enjoy nature, what is happening? When you see the nature, we lift our mind from the selfish to the unselfish, from the ephemeral to the eternal. That is what happens. When you see a beautiful sight from the ephemeral, our mind catches up with the eternal. When we hear a beautiful music, our mind takes a leap from the ephemeral to the eternal. So our Pancha Indriyas can be used also to remove our mind from the self to the non-self. Capital self, that is our inside, which is not self, is what is outside. They are all dying. They have come, they will stay, they will disappear. So this sort of an understanding, if we develop, slowly, we will find that our mind expands into an altogether different mode. Bhagavad Gita shows us the steps by which slowly, we can ascend the steps to manifest the divinity within ourselves. So let this first chapter be the guide to help us in our self-analysis. And with that purified mind, in the next class, we'll see what the second chapter has to give us. Krishna is going to bless us like anything. A blessing which we have never received from Bhagavad Gita. That is the blessing which we are going to receive through the succeeding chapters.
Thank you,
So
Didi.
with this, I stop this particular discussion on first chapter, Arjuna Vishada Yoga.
धन्यवाद दीदी.
Namaste, Didi.
Namaste.
There was a question by one Mr. Subhash. He was
Oh.
asking a common man how to understand the Amritha Parivar.
After listening to all this, he could not understand it. To lift the mind from selfish to unselfish. That is the first step. Let him consider as his own family, maybe his brother's family or his sister's family, and expand through three ways are there for expansion. One, loving. Second, giving up your selfish motivations. Thirdly, by serving. So these three, if we can bring into your daily living, you will find you are slowly uncovering what was a veil which was covering your understanding. You will find you are uncovering, you are removing that veil. That is a veil of Maya.
Dhanyawad.
Didi, one doubt. This threefold motivation, loving, giving, and serving. Giving, is it giving up or giving to family?
See, loving we understand, isn't it? But what we are doing now, I am ready to understand my own immediate relatives, not outside my family. So, love, when it expands, it becomes borderless. No boundary for loving. So that is the expansion of love. Hereafter, I was doing something, I was doing Tyaga also. I used to advertise in papers, my donation to such and such a thing. So many, that is what Rockefeller tried to. Swamiji said, it is, you have to thank me, not you. You have to thank yourself. That's what he tells. No, to remove from our mind selfish motivation. So when we give, there was a beautiful book I always remember, during my Karma Yoga lectures. Magnificent obsession. In that book, a doctor is told by a very, very small pub owner to start doing work in such a way that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand does. And the doctor literally took that advice and he started helping people like anything without ever asking for a return. And slowly, his efficiency in work, his name, his fame, his riches, everything started expanding like anything. So, that sort of a tyaga, the tyaga of I in our activities. And serving also is only in the same way. Oh, that I have served you. No, it's my pleasure. It is God has given me the chance to look after my old people in their old age. Not that I will put them into a vridhashrama. Send money. I can send enough money. I'm sending them enough money. What do they have to complain? See, man yearns for some love and understanding and concern. If you are not able to give that, any amount of money you give is of no value at all. So, we have to create this expansion. at our body level by serving, mental level by love, maybe intellectual level by a deep understanding that we are one, Atma is one, like that. These are small, small experiments we should start doing in our family, and you will see the result. Wonderful will be the result. I can assure you that. The more you learn to give up, the more and more are added unto you. It's a divine plan. It's a divine order. Give up and enrich yourself. Kendra, we say, Jivane yavadadanam syad pradhanam tadodhita. I will give you more love than you give me. I will give you more service than you give me. So at home, if somebody is giving you only scoldings, all right, you will receive it, but you don't give back scoldings. You will negatify that scolding.
Dhanyavad Didi. One question is there from Radhika Balgani. How do we inculcate this concept of Amrita Parivar in today's children?
From childhood, you should teach them to give up their personal interest for the sake of a friend or something like that. Sometimes I tell this story, maybe sometime it will come. There was a child, his mother used to give beautiful tiffin for him. And evening he will come, Amma will open the tiffin box and say, how did you like this? I had prepared this. Did you like it? And all that. One day the boy comes and tells, Amma, I'm hungry. Huh? Hungry? I had put such nice things for you to eat. Why you are hungry? Then slowly he tells, Amma, you know the boy who sits near me, Shankar, he doesn't have a mother. He doesn't bring any tiffin. So I gave my tiffin to him, Amma, today. I tell you, 99% of today's great mothers will scold the child. Why did you do that? I have given you nay roast and this and that. It is not to give to somebody else, it is for you to eat. But one among the 100, a mother, oh my child, you never told me about your friend Shankar. Tell him I am his mother also. Tomorrow you will take 2 tiffin boxes, one for him, one for you, and tell him if he wants any help, fees, uniform, medical, this mother will give you. And the child became so happy. And remember how his mind expanded. See, that is the way Mother's Advaita can become poetical in life. Only a good mother can do that. But selfish, Mrita families, mothers, they can never inculcate in their child this Amritatva. That should be our effort. Our child should feel the least of selfishness. And more he should be taught to give. Let him enjoy the benefit of giving.
Thank you, Amma. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
The reason I posed this question is a small experience from my life. Like my child used to go to a daycare, and I used to pick her and her friend as well, because her mom we used to take turns. So I used to bring my child home, and I used to, instead of giving the snack first to my child, I used to give it to her friend first and then to her. But it used to be the opposite when she was picked up by her mother, where her mother used to take care of her child first and then my daughter. So this is something where, the child's mind is so confused at that age, and we trying to incorporate these values to them at that age is very tough, actually. So that is the reason, one of the reason I posed this question to you, Amma.
See, in such cases, we cannot help that lady. we can at least tell them, not at that particular occasion, maybe during a satsang or during a meeting or something like that. Otherwise, you should tell your child, see, you don't mind. When she doesn't give you, who is going to give you? God himself. You see, God will provide you. Don't expect anything from them. Don't take from her. Don't worry about it. Because at that time, somebody else is watching over you and he will provide you what you need. So that mind doesn't have any anger or jealousy or hatred towards the other person. It is the God who is making us act this way and that way. Maybe that mother is little unhappy in her mind. Doesn't matter. Let us be happy. Let us keep this direct link with the Almighty. He will be always with you. Like that, we have to cajole and put the magnificence of God's creation. Love.
Thank you, Ma.
Any questions? We're having another 5 minutes.
All the listeners should read the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita with meaning and imagine in your mind the Kurukshetra scene, Sri Krishna standing, keeping the chariot between the two armies, Arjuna going through his depression, and the great love and understanding Sri Krishna brings on to Arjuna. So when we are in the Arjuna Vishada mode, forget not, Parthasarathi is there with us in our mind, holding the rein of the horses. Let Parthasarathi be a resident of our mind as the Gita unfolds itself. At that picture of Parthasarathi, we'll come to that later, how it is clubbed with Radha picture in the Kathopanishad. So homework for all of you is to learn, if possible by heart, Bhagavad Gita, or at least 2 slokas. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yulsava Mamaga Pandavaschaiva. That is the mistake we should not commit. And lastly, Tatham Sthavayam Arjuna. Senayorabhair Madhi Radham Sthavayam Ishva. Let not an angry command come from within us when we are talking to our Lord Almighty. Sometimes, when we are sick, when something unhappiness occurs, many people have the habit of scolding the God, finding fault with him. That I was praying so much, but still he did like this, like that. How unbecoming is all that. Our life we see only from our birth to death in this Janma. But it is like the spectrum. Infinite is the expansion of our life. We don't know where we have committed mistake, which results have come to us in this. So always with great humility, prayerfulness, request God to be kind and merciful towards us.
Beautiful. So we are at the end of our today's session. Let us complete it with the Shanti Mantra, Amma. Should we? Shall we?
Okay.
Raji Didi, Didi, Shanti Mantra. Please.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः